up with that? So, made some changes to my system throughout the hunting season. Ended up getting 50 foot of Yale Bandit. That blue Sterling HTP was just kind of like a temporary line to get me practicing SRT, and then I ended up switching to this once I found out about it. It's 11 millimeter, and it worked out pretty good for me. We're pretty happy. The braid is kind of thicker, and although it's very flexible, things can kind of try to dig into that braid, but it did work pretty well. Saw a video Mike Isbell made of his setup, and I really liked what he had, and I had him make me something identical. It's 35 foot of Samson Predator 11.4 millimeter. He splices a really tight eye and puts a ring at the end of it. On the other end, he attaches this piece of, I don't even know what it is, but it's a loop. And the idea is now you attach your line to this, and it should pull through. It's got this Kevlar sleeve, keep things from binding up. The loop, you run the tag end through, and it's much smoother, and release is much easier. And then we got an amp steel pullback line that's attached to the loop. I only got to use this 2 times, with the season being just about over, but it worked great for me. It's 35 foot, and the idea is it's a little bit smaller, and I want to try to use it for one sticking and possibly using a lone wolf hand climber as a tether to rappel back down. But I was really happy with this hunting. I did use my sticks a bit towards the end of the season when I wanted to hunt different spots, and I did not want to bring the docker pole in or the throw bag. Areas that I didn't have presets in, but I always left myself a paracord loop after the hunt so that I could go back SRT in the future, because it's definitely my preferred way of climbing. I love being tethered in once I leave the ground. I was able to do some really wild stuff, cutting different limbs off of other trees, being able to extend out during my climb. I really like being on the belay device, the Gree Plus. It's just so easy to let out some line instead of like creating slack in your system, and with like a rope man or Kong duck, something like that. So I'd much prefer to be hanging on this. Yeah, like if there's some slack in the system, it can clank, but you don't let there be slack. All right, that's like saddle hunting 101. Don't get slack in your system. So I was really happy with SRT. I did have a failure with the docker pole hook, but I just took an old paintbrush and chopped it. I think I'd like this hook to be pointing down. It would be easier to grab a hold of your eye and pull it back down to you. I'm going to show you a couple little things. I'm going to show you the problem that I had with my 50-foot line and why I went to this 35-foot line that Mike made for me, and how that little loop on the tail end really helped with a couple issues I was having. So let's pause, and we'll get hooked up to the tree. Okay, so not going to be climbing for any of this, but I want to show you how I'm leaving my trees preset, how this new line is helping me, and how I'm getting that up there and retrieving it compared to the old one. So this This is just a paracord loop wrapped up over a branch. It's just the one by my house, about 12 foot up, 13 foot up. But get it the same length. Come straight down. If there isn't any branch to hook onto, then right around chest height, head height, depending on how much rope I have or is needed, you come and then you wrap it around the tree at the base, and then you go around the back side of it and pull tight. Okay, so now it's kind of locked here. You pinch, go around the back side, just tie a knot, just a half hitch. All right, pull tight. And this ain't going anywhere. I had any issues, and then I would just take the rest of it and kind of double it up and keep it just like that. I didn't have any issues this year. Nobody took my line. It never came undone and was blown up in the wind. But if I had it set like this, I'll show you exactly what I do. Okay, so I get to the tree, untie it, okay. Now, with this new setup, he sewed in this loop at the bottom of the line and sewed in this Kevlar cover, so it's a nice smooth transition. And you just I tie a bowline, okay? But let me show you what I was doing with the old line. Okay, so the old line just had this end. What I was doing a clove hitch. Clove hitch, and then a couple half hitches. And this worked all but 2 times. Okay? And then I'd pull it up and over. But you get in an issue sometimes where this at the crotch of the tree wants to bind up. And one time when I was setting a paracord loop, once I was getting ready to tie in to start hunting, and then the other time I just got down, I tied my rope like this to pull the loop back around, and it got caught up in the tree. And even though it's a friction knot and works really well, if that gets stuck in that crotch, it just pulls it off. And the knot, this end is a little raised, so a lot of times I would get it back with it just on the end. But 2 times it pulled through, and then I lose my preset. So that's kind of frustrating. Now the idea with the new setup is that you tie into this loop, and there's really nothing for it to catch on. It's a pretty smooth transition everywhere. I don't think it would get caught, and even if it gets caught on this bowline, you'd have to break the line. But I only got to use it twice, and I haven't had any issues, and that's what we want. Okay, I'll show you. Yeah, right up and over, didn't try to hang up at all. Okay. And I was using the paracord loop as my pullback line, but there's a lot of stretch in that, and I didn't really like it, so I got this am steel put on, and it's a lot tougher. Again, don't have a ton of attempts with it, but should work a lot better. Okay, so then take the tag end, run it through this ring. I already got my pullback rope attached because you want to have that on from the jump street, because if it gets hung up on something and you can only pull it one direction, you could potentially get really jammed up and have a hard time getting your line back. You'd have to get the doka pole out, maybe. Okay, so it runs up, sets just like it normally would. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have my saddle on to really cinch down on it. But now you just pull it back with the band steel, and it seems to break free a lot easier. It's not as much friction on that ring as where if you had just it ran through the eye, it seems to bite down a lot more. Then you get finished with your hunt. Before you pull that line completely down, you get your paracord loop again, tie it back on, and I'll usually be wrapping my line up, coiling my line up as I do this, as I pull it through, just to save time. And this is, a sycamore tree, so it's not really going to bind up on this tree like a cherry or pine tree or something. But then it's gone. Now you get your paracord loop, both ends together. And then wrap it back around the tree. Ready to pack up your gear and go home. So yeah, I really am looking forward to using this line. Unfortunately, the season's about over. I got a couple things I can climb to get some gear down, like a couple cameras and presets, but I think it's going to be a better system, more versatile, and I can try to use this as a tether rappel rig setup to get out of trees that I'm climbing, other methods. But give us a follow on the SRT Saddle Hunter page on Facebook, and be safe, guys. See ya.